This is The Drive with Dale Lolley and Matt Williamson on your 24/7 home of the black and gold. SNR, Steelers Nation Radio.
And welcome to The Drive. I am Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson. And Matt, Steelers continuing with their prospect visits.
Yeah.
3 more guys in today. That would be Kansas State running back DJ Giddens.
Okay. Interesting player.
Texas A&M outside linebacker Shemar Stewart.
Huh. Okay.
And SMU defensive tackle Jared Henderson Hunt.
Don't know a lot about him.
He's a Miami transfer who was one of the guys that showed up at the SMU last year. Got the prerequisite size, he like 6'3", 295.
Okay.
33-inch arm, all that,
Yeah, he fits the bill.
Yeah.
Later round pick, obviously.
Later round guy,
right.
yeah.
Go ahead.
The idea that they're bringing in Stewart, if you look at the first-round guys, and Stewart's one of those.
Yeah, I think he'll go in the first.
The first-round type prospects that they have brought in, it's kind of run across the gamut.
Mm-hmm.
And it got me to thinking today, I'm like, there's no way that they're interested in all of these guys.
No, right.
But that doesn't mean that somebody else won't be. And so you put that out there. You bring the guy in for a visit. You kind of put the kernel out there that, hey, maybe we'll take this guy, and you might get somebody to trade up into that spot at 21 who really wants this guy.
It's really funny you brought that up because I was thinking the same thing over the last 24 hours, but only through the quarterback lens. If they aren't going to take a quarterback at 21, they want every quarterback they can to fall in the top 20.
Right.
So if the Giants or Browns want Dart or Sanders, you want them to trade ahead of you
to take them.
So that they fall. So, and by the way, you might be playing against that guy twice a year in Cleveland. And it's never a bad idea to do due diligence on a quarterback, and maybe they do love one of them. Stewart kind of feels the same way.
Yeah.
I wonder about Hampton.
He's the only outside linebacker prospect that they brought in.
Right. I mean, and he's bigger than the typical Steeler guys, and they could sell it that they think he's a 3-4 end when it's all said and done, or he's Leal or somebody like that.
He's an outside linebacker is how he was described.
Oh, okay. And for the press release
the
or
visit.
whatever.
And there's no press release.
Okay,
they view him as an outside linebacker.
Which is what he is in the scheme, right?
And I look at the same way with bringing in Matthew Golden.
Yeah.
I look with
I think
Stewart.
Hampton similar, maybe.
Cornerbacks.
Right.
I can't see them taking some of these guys in the first round, but you put that out there and think, well, maybe Imuari's another one.
I mean, that's a perfect example, yeah. Some of these guys.
Somebody who might want to get one of those guys starts looking at it and going, maybe the Steelers will take him. We might want to trade up.
And the whole goal is to get them drafted before 21.
Or to get somebody thinking you're going to take them at 21, so they think, okay, we're going to trade up to 21 to take him instead.
Yeah. I've been thinking the same thing all along because a lot of their visits didn't add up. And I'll be honest, I've been busy this morning. That's the first I've heard Stewart. And then you said that, I'm like, but I've been thinking about this quarterback situation. They want guys to go ahead of them. Yeah, I very much think that's the case.
I think it's just playing a little poker here.
Yeah.
And putting what's his hand? I don't know.
I don't know
what the hand is. He's making a lot of weird moves here. Like he's got a good hand, but does he?
And maybe you and I are off base with their D-tackle love.
Maybe, but I don't think so.
I bet not. I kind of trust us to know these things. And how would we build a team? What do they truly need? And they haven't been in, right? Harmon was.
Far, yeah.
Okay. And that doesn't exactly show your hand either. I mean, it doesn't mean you have to take him.
It's the guys who you think might be in that 15 to 25 range.
Mm-hmm. And it's such a gray draft, too.
Yeah.
If they're interested, and maybe I do have to move up 3 spots to get the guy or whatever. I was saying the same thing, but just with the quarterbacks. But Emuari, Stewart, I don't know how they could take them at 21.
Right.
Especially without a second-round pick.
But somebody else might look at him and go, boy, I really like the traits, so I better go get him.
Right.
If I want him, I got to go get him.
Mm-hmm. Then again, I think they want those dudes to fall before 21 or have someone make them an offer at 21.
Yeah.
Which, all that adds up.
Yeah, and I've seen some stuff lately where some speculation regarding this draft is that you could see more movement because teams are going to have – everybody's going to have these guys graded different.
Yeah.
And so
maybe someone's just standing out on your board after people are going, like he's way better than everybody else available.
The speculation and the way we feel about it as well is that, that top 5 is the top 5.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's maybe 12 guys that are true blue chipper first round. That doesn't mean that that's how teams view it, though.
Yeah, I'm not even sure 4 and 5 are blue chippers.
Right.
You know what I mean? I think if you're the Patriots, so I was kicking this around on a podcast today, too. Like, if you're the Giants at 3 and Hunter and Ward are gone, Carter's the best player, but do you really want to trade Thibodeau on, cents on the dollar? Or if you really want a quarterback, could you convince Carolina to come to 3 and then take your quarterback there at 8 or 9, or the Bears or the Niners or a team like that to go get Carter? That wouldn't change the Steelers' outlook much, but I think I personally would want a quarterback to fall before 20, or in the top 20.
It makes me think maybe we should do a mock draft where we make all the picks for the teams.
Okay.
And we entertain all the trade offers that go along with that. Because I think there could be some extreme movement.
Yeah. I mean, the closer we get, I originally thought it's going to be kind of a boring draft, but I don't know that it will. And I think the Giants and Browns hold such huge keys if they're going to try to pick their guy and then come back for the quarterback.
Right.
What are they willing to spend?
And to that point, there are certain positions that are loaded. There are other positions that aren't.
Right.
And so it's going to maybe put more of a premium on some of those guys. Maybe Emuwari is rated so much higher than the rest of the strong safety prospects, and he's clean,
or there's
unlike
only 2
the Penn
safeties.
State guy or something like that.
Miami has a huge safety need.
Yeah.
Or there's only 2 that they want, and one goes all of a sudden. Well, maybe we need to get aggressive.
Maybe
we have Emuwari way higher than everybody else. I mean, if you're a testing team, you like him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that is all interesting. And again, I really thought that way with, not that they should not have Shedeur Sanders in, but I mean, they definitely should and should consider him at 21.
Yeah.
But you definitely want the world to know or to think that you love him.
Yeah. They've essentially now, outside of Cam Ward, have either met with or been at the pro day of.
They've showed pretty blatant interest of all the guys.
80% of the quarterbacks in this draft that are going to be draftable.
Mm-hmm.
That's not an accident.
That's not an accident because they probably are considering drafting one of them.
And they probably. I mean, you're going to take 4 to camp.
There's definitely been additions to the team.
So you're going to bring a young quarterback to camp.
Right.
Whether that's a draft pick or whether that's an undrafted free agent.
What are you willing to spend and on which guys? And again, I think it depends on. I think you're trying to cover your tracks a little bit here too.
Yeah,
and that's a good way of doing it.
Yeah, I just see it. I was thinking about it today when Stewart was one of the visits. I'm like, they're not taking an outside linebacker.
No way.
In the first round.
They're not taking a safety either.
Right.
I mean,
they're just not.
I'm not sure on running back. I mean, I'm not sure on receiver. I mean, it'd be a tough.
Receiver would be you
kind of understand.
People who still have them taking a receiver, and that's not as prevalent as it used to be.
No.
You spent your second-round draft pick was spent on a receiver.
Right. I mean, Pickens would almost have to go for it to make sense, and I don't know if that's the plan either,
I don't think it is.
Right. So, again, I was kind of thinking the same thing, that there was some cat and mouse stuff going on here, and even like in McShay's draft we went over yesterday, he hadn't taken Emuwari. And one of his logics was this team – in the first round, usually draft somebody that's in their building. Well, maybe they realize, well, if I start bringing in different people in my building, we'll be a little less transparent,
Yeah, and in recent
maybe
years,
I know enough about Nolan or whoever,
In recent years, they didn't hide their love for Najee Harris.
Mm-mm.
They didn't hide that they were, in the quarterback market in 21,
right,
22, I should say. They had looked at all those guys.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they're taking a quarterback, and
they're definitely not hiding their quarterback interest.
Right,
interest and action are 2 different things.
The dudes,
yeah.
Not, unlike that year, it was like 5 guys that they were.
Mm-hmm.
The 5 guys who were considered the top 5. Well, this year they've covered the gamut.
Yeah,
they've looked at them all.
But like I just said, interest and taking action are 2 different things. I'm interested. I want to learn. Quarterbacks in particular, I want to know. I want their scouting report to be vast, because we are going to play against them. Is there something I don't know about them that puts them over the edge that I do want them, or Am I just wanting the world to think I want a quarterback?
I just think one of the things that Mike Tomlin always talks about is being thoughtfully non-rhythmic.
Yeah.
And for those 2 years, they weren't very thoughtfully non-rhythmic.
No, they were pretty rhythmic and pretty easy to figure out,
This year, it seems like they're saying, okay, we've done this the last few years. Last year, the last couple of years, they're very interested in the offensive tackles.
Mm-hmm.
That was no secret.
Exactly.
Now it's like, okay, what are the Steelers taking? You see it all over the quarterback. We saw Emuwari. We've seen wide receivers. We've seen cornerbacks in the first round.
Yeah. I won't say his name. Lineman. It doesn't even make him look bad. But he texted me yesterday. He's a friend of the show, and he's kind of a national dude, and asked, what do you think the Steelers are doing at 21? And a real chance it's a quarterback? And I'm like, but it's going to be a defensive tackle. He's like, and he wrote back, he's like, oh, that adds up so much. It wasn't as transparent to me because I'm not so close to the team. And I don't know it's 100% going to be defensive tackle, but it didn't take any convincing when I wrote DT back to him in a text. He's like, yep, that makes all the sense in the world. That's who the team is. That's what's the sweet spot in the draft. And it was good to hear from an outsider like, yeah, you guys aren't crazy doing that over and over,
No, and again, if you look at the roster,
right,
where's the hole?
Where could you not?
Yes,
live
quarterback
with, right?
is sort of a hole right now,
and I can't fill it with a third-round pick. I mean, I can add to it. Right. I can put some dirt in that hole, but it's not going to.
Assuming Aaron Rodgers signs, then it's not a hole.
Right.
But you still have a hole at defensive end. Or defensive tackle,
you need
whichever one you
defensive lineman of some sort. You need a prominent member in that room, if not two.
I mean, I'm looking on our lads the other day, and like they have Isaiah Loudermilk listed as the Steelers starter. Would anybody? And that's no offense to Isaiah Loudermilk, but would anybody be happy if Isaiah Loudermilk opened the season as the Steelers starting defensive end? No.
And Cam Hayward misses a week or two. Then it's like, oh no, yeah,
right.
I mean, right? It's a disaster. Maybe this is something we should do between now and the draft too. It kind of like our 21 list. If I were ranking needs, DT1 would be number 1. DT2 might be number 2.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's why we've taken 2 in a lot of our and maybe it's a true nose tackle.
Right.
But you want to get both. Ideally, you could get that in one player, but I think you'd still want to take another guy who's a depth piece.
I do too. I mean, I think even if I have Nolan or Harmon or whoever, I'm going to have a hard time turning down another defensive tackle I like a lot for a running back, a developmental quarterback, I mean a McCord type or something like that, and certainly anything else on defense.
Yeah. I mean, I just think that's the way this whole thing aligns, and it just seems to me that the Steelers are being very thoughtfully non-rhythmic with their visits.
Yeah.
It's all over the place.
You can try to read what we're doing, but there's a lot of smoke here.
Yeah.
I tend to think the same thing. It's funny you brought that up because I thought I was going to spring that on you from the quarterback perspective. Not that they dislike Sanders or Dart or any of those guys, but I think you want the world to think you want them.
Yeah.
And
again, when you've been so transparent with what you've done the last few years, now you switch it up a little bit, and that's zigging when everybody else is zagging, and we know what the Steelers want. Well, wait a second. They brought in like 6 first-round guys, but they're all different positions.
They're all different, right? They can go any direction. They're a wild card. Meanwhile, they're just sitting there, we're taking defensive tackle. And we don't want to be that stuck in stone, but they're taking defensive tackle.
Yeah.
And maybe, even take it a step further, maybe you could push a division rival, Cleveland, to spend more than they should to get Sanders or Dart or something like that.
We've seen mock drafts where they're trading away a bunch of picks to go up and get a quarterback ahead of the Steelers.
All the way to 18. You can't do it at 25, Cleveland. You better act now. Get ahead of the Steelers. Got to get ahead of the Steelers. So now you're short other resources.
Yeah, it's
the maybe this isn't even the segment, but the Flacco signing is a little weird to me too.
That doesn't move the needle of it all for me.
Well, I just wonder how it affects Cousins. I thought for sure it would be Cousins, Pickens, and a pick.
I think it takes him out of the Cousins market.
I think it absolutely does.
Yeah. And all of a sudden his market is where?
Do they just hang on to him and wait for someone to get hurt in camp or something like that?
Hope for a Sam Bradford deal.
Or is Aaron Rodgers going to retire and Cousins coming here? I mean, that crossed my mind. Now what happens to Kirk? Or is he just going to be the Falcons' backup for the year?
The Browns just wanted to take the bird in hand. They
know him.
We've had Joe in the building.
Yeah.
He knows the offense. It's not going to be.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I would prefer Cousins if I were them.
Sure.
But maybe the Falcons aren't moving him, or I don't know. I thought that was an odd move to happen today.
Yeah. Well, I just think they wanted to get that out of the way. And they could still draft one. I mean, they still only have 2 quarterbacks on their roster.
Right. And them and the Giants are really similar. I mean, I don't think their quarterback rooms are all that different, and they both could still pick one.
Yeah. So, anyways, let's get to a break. He is the Matt Williamson. I am Dale Lolley. You're listening to The Drive here on the Steelers Audio Network. Matt and I will be back with more right after this. And we are back. I am Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson, and we forgot to do the Twitter questions.
Oh, yesterday. Yeah, they've been rolling in today, though.
The X Twitter. Immediately, I put the thing out today, and what is Twitter? Why do you insist on calling it Twitter when it's X?
Oh, really?
It's Twitter.
I still call it Twitter.
It's like calling, I'm going to go get something Xeroxed. You know?
Right. I still call it Twitter, too.
You know, it's just what you do. I mean, there's still people that won't call Acrisure Stadium.
Right. I almost said that. I'm like, I'll get in trouble if I say that, but it's Acrisure Stadium.
So I put the poll out, or the questions out earlier.
Yeah, the bat signal when people come running.
The bat signal out there. So we got some questions here. Let's roll through some of these here in this first hour. If Aaron Rodgers doesn't sign and Sanders and Harmon/Nolan are both there, who do you think Tomlin pushes for? And if he does do the wrong choice and takes Sanders,
I wonder who this person was.
Do you think the Steelers should trade future picks to get back to Nolan or Harmon?
That's why I think you take the D tackle and you trade back to get a Milrow or a Shuck or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. If Rodgers doesn't sign, I think they'll be heavily in on Cousins or Carr.
I think they know.
I think they know what's going to happen.
They know what's going to happen. Right. Even though it's not leaked.
No.
The Steelers aren't a leak organization. Some organizations are.
Right.
But they are not. And, I don't think that scenario is going to happen. I think somebody will have taken Sanders by pick 21.
I think that as well. I think there's a really good chance Dart's gone by 21 by the sound of things, too, which, again, I hope happens, to be very honest with you. Partially because I don't want – I also don't want all the naysayers 3 years from now when one of them ends up being a good quarterback. Williamson, you were stupid. You should have taken him at 21.
Which will invariably be the case.
I actually do root for them. I want them to be fine. But I think it's some veteran, probably Rodgers, Rudolph, probably a late pick, I mean, and a D tackle at round 1.
When evaluating the defensive tackles, how much do you factor in the unit as a whole? For example, Grant, Harmon, and Nolan were all part of stacked defensive fronts and were never the guy facing double teams. Also, do recent Michigan busts, Jenkins, Maisie Smith, affect opinion on Grant? Well, first of all, I don't know. It's still probably too early to call Jenkins and Maisie Smith a
Maisie's
bust.
been bad.
Yeah.
It's definitely
and
too
he's
early
been in the
Jenkins.
league longer.
Right.
Jenkins has played 1 year.
And I think he had some injuries last year, too.
Yeah.
And he's going to be a starter for them this year, so let's see. I hadn't realized this, though. They've never had a defensive tackle in my lifetime that's been a good or high-quality player from Michigan. I don't put too much into that.
I don't either, because people used to say, well, those Big 12 quarterbacks never hit. Hello, Patrick Mahomes.
And then they hit, right.
The Big 10 quarterbacks, they don't work.
Right.
Hi, Tom Brady.
Right. Penn State has that thing going, and Ohio State had it forever, too.
Yeah.
Which maybe, so I don't look too much into that, but I do find it odd, as great as Michigan football's been for our lifetime, there's not a prominent defensive tackle in the league that's had a good career.
As for the stacked,
that's a great question.
It's been a question for years about Alabama and Georgia players.
Right. I mean, the best D linemen go to a handful of schools.
Yeah,
it's
and that's just the reality of it. So I look at it. We have tape of Harmon, for example, playing somewhere else. We have tape of Nolan playing somewhere. And
But Nolan played with good players, too, in A&M,
Nolan, I look at Nolan and say, well, he went from Texas A&M, which had the number 1 defensive line class in the nation that year, and he was number 1.
He was part of it, right.
He went to Mississippi. You're telling me he didn't get doubled at Mississippi?
Yeah, of course. But I do think you have to watch the tape and realize, if we were truly doing this as a scouting staff in the league, you'd watch every one of their snaps and be like, well, how's he hold up against doubles? He doesn't get doubled nearly as much. Someone like C.J. West in Indiana is the only show in town.
Yeah.
his job's harder. Alexander, he's not playing against as good an O-line, guys like that. But you definitely have to factor it in.
Sure, you look at it.
Right, and there's no question.
You look at it.
It's definitely a factor. I think those guys have edge dudes that the backs are helping or.
So here's a question. Steelers' 30 visits are often, but not always, indicators of the team's interest in a player.
Yes.
Can you break down all confirmed players by position if you think the player is a good fit, and if so, roughly what round would the Steelers would target them in? Well, we're not going to do that now because they've still got more visits.
Yeah.
I mean, they're only at like 23 now,
and we've brought up a bunch of them.
Yeah,
throughout.
as they've come through,
and we also kind of addressed this in the first segment that I think a lot of these first rounders are not going to be considered a 21.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
That have been in.
Steelers are doing a lot of homework on quarterbacks. Have you gentlemen tried a mock draft that prioritizes selecting quarterbacks in round 1 and 2, assuming a slight trade down in round 1? We've done it a lot.
We have, but we haven't. You and I don't jump on Dart at 21.
No, no, because we just don't. We don't like that player at that spot.
Yeah, I don't like that pick.
Yeah,
I mean, we could try it one time, force ourselves to take Dart at 21.
It's not pretty.
The rest won't be nice.
The rest is not pretty.
Yeah, they really won't.
It's kind of. I mean, we've done this basically the same thing by taking a running back at times in the first round, and it's not. It just doesn't work out as well.
It doesn't. I mean, the path of least resistance or best results always starts with D tackle.
If the team trades back or somehow gets another day 2 pick, is there a position to look at or just best available? Well, I think if you're trading to get another day 2 pick, I think you like one of those running backs, or there's a defensive lineman there that you got to have, or you're going to get a quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, they have 6 picks as we speak.
Yeah,
they probably at most will get to 7. I mean, I don't think they're going to get 8 or 9.
Yeah.
And 1 or 2 of those late rounders, I'm not going to prioritize for a specific spot.
No.
So you probably end up with 4 or 5 picks where you're looking at it of these are where they're going to go.
Yeah.
At least one's going to be D-line. At least one's going to be running back. A second D-line, I think, is absolutely possible. An O-lineman of some sort,
we've taken O-lineman, we've taken cornerbacks.
Yeah.
With that.
I would say a corner or a receiver is a maybe, And then
I don't see a receiver.
You don't think they'd pick one, period?
I don't think so.
Yeah,
not
it
high.
wouldn't surprise me.
Not high. Any updates on Cameron Johnston's rehab? Will there be a battle at the punter position, or is it his to lose if he's healthy? Well, I've seen Cameron Johnston a lot around the facility. He is healthy. Mike Tomlin was asked about that at the meetings 2 weeks ago now, and said he's healthy as well. It's Cameron Johnston's job.
Yeah, he's phenomenal.
Yeah,
and Waitman did really well.
Waitman
it was a nice
better
find.
than you could expect, but Johnston's better.
Yeah, he's under contract. He was signed for a reason. He looked great before the injury. He was super impressive at camp. I think he upgraded to punter too. I mean, we often talk about last year's rookie class coming in that you didn't get anything out of. Well, you also have a close to a Pro Bowl punter coming back. Right?
Yeah. RJ Poirier says, not a question, but I love the show. Haven't missed a show in legitimately 2 years. Thanks for all the great insight and honest opinions on the team. That's what we're here to do.
That's awesome. Appreciate it. That's cool.
Appreciated that. Me, exclamation point, says, are Yins comfortable with Mason being quarterback 1 with a vet like Flacco or Wentz as the backup? Well, both of those guys are signed, are they not now?
I'm not sure about Wentz. Flacco signed today.
Signed today.
The answer is no for me.
No, I'm not comfortable with that at all.
Right.
We have enough talent to have a top 5 offensive line this year. Top 5 is
pretty lofty, I would say.
Pretty lofty.
Probably not.
If you can get into 10. The top 12, 10 to 12, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
And finally, best Sheets MTO item.
I don't hit there enough.
I stop at Sheets every day because they just built one down the road from my house.
Okay.
On my way here.
But you're not getting Sammy's, huh?
Not usually. If I get something in the morning on my way to the facility, I'll get like a cream cheese bagel.
I mean, Pitt Johnstown, that we'd run the Sheets once in a while. Yeah, that was a late night thing.
It was very close to campus.
A ton of stuff to pick from either.
Yeah, wasn't like it is now.
Right, and that was like revolutionary for the day.
Oh, huge, huge. I remember there was a guy that
I'm open to suggestions though. If anyone wants to say try this at Sheets, I'll try.
Guy that I worked with in Washington, Mark Lazarus. I think he works for the Chicago Sun-Times now. Covers the Blackhawks. And he moved here from New York to come work at the Observer Reporter. And I kept telling him, like, look, you got to stop at Sheets and get the MTO. I can't. It's gas station food. I'm like, it's not gas station food.
Gas station, right.
And then after about 4 or 5 months, when we kept telling him that he had to stop at Sheetz, he finally stopped at the Sheetz. Now when he comes back to Pittsburgh to visit,
he hits it every time.
He goes to Sheetz, specifically every single time.
We're a commercial here for Sheetz. They should be sponsoring the show.
I'm a big Wawa fan. I like all those.
Yeah, you travel more than I do, but gas station food has come a long way.
It's come along. Like you're not
gas station sushi.
Hitting the button and then opening the door and pulling out the sandwich that's been in there for 4 days.
Or the hot dog roller that's tick, tick, tick.
It's a little different than that.
Right. No, there's actual good cold cuts, etc.
Yeah.
But I'm open. Tell me your favorite Sheetz order, folks. Yeah. I'll give it a shot.
Dan asks, since it gets mentioned frequently per PFF, the most likely trade down partners are the Packers 23 and 87, the Texans 25 and 79, the Bills at 30 and 56, the Chiefs at 31, 63 and 66.
Okay.
At 21, one of the better wide receivers or OTs might be enticing enough. Are your mocks better when the Steelers trade down? Absolutely.
Almost always.
Every time.
Yeah. I mean, because of the extra pick, but you often get your dude in a trade down too.
Yeah.
That you would have taken. However, I'm leaning towards, I like all three of those defensive tackles. There's no question. But I think just in the last 48 hours or so, I think Grant's my clear third. Just because I think the build doesn't go quite as well. And I know he's not a true nose, but I like him a lot. Those other guys just influence the passing game more now, as a situational pass rusher, 2025 contribution.
I think ideally.
And it would worry me if Nolan is already gone.
Kansas City is an interesting one.
Mm-hmm.
And I mentioned yesterday the Chiefs potentially taking a tight end in the first round and taking the third tight end in the first round.
But what if they could get Loveland?
What if Colston Loveland is there?
Mm-hmm.
And they've got those two. They got picks 63 and 66, and they say, you know what? We want to get him before the Chargers get him. Keep him out of the division.
That would add up 100%.
So we're going to trade up with the Steelers, get Colston Loveland, keep him away from the Chargers.
You move back 10 spots.
You move back 10 spots.
Definitely get the second, if not more.
You're getting one of those second-round draft picks, whether it's 63 or 66. I don't care which one.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm still going to get potentially who I wanted to get at 21, and I get that second-round draft pick.
I throw one other team at you, too, because no one's really talking about the Lions. We always just kind of brush over their pick when we do a mock draft. It's usually an edge. Sometimes it's a guard, whatever. But they're a really aggressive organization. They have quite the history of trading up with this regime. And if the edge rushers start going and there's one they love, or maybe it's a Connerly, or I keep thinking about Simmons, the Ohio State tackle there.
He's a wild card in this draft.
Yeah, because Decker's up in age.
He did.
Can you get a franchise left tackle at 21?
Simmons did position workouts at the Ohio State Pro Day.
Did he? So he's back doing stuff.
Yeah. It's just a question of, is he going to be ready for the regular season or will he be ready for training camp?
Yeah, okay. Because I'm sure the Lions, the way they're built in their philosophy, is they want to keep a strength of strength on the O-line. And maybe that's just not sitting there waiting at the end of the first round.
But the Chiefs, to me, are the
Chiefs
ones.
Makes a great one.
The Chiefs are one because they have those 2 second-round picks.
Mm-hmm.
Could they move 31 and say 66, knowing that they still have 63, or vice versa?
Yeah, or something.
Say, hey, we're still going to have a second-round draft pick. We're going to go get the guy that we want.
The guy that we need. Yeah, the big-time dude. Yeah, that's a great one. Some other trade downs are Minnesota and Atlanta, though.
They need picks.
Yeah, they're the ones that need picks.
Yeah. During the Josiah Jones asked, during the Aaron Rodgers visit, does anybody know if he tried the Super Steelers soup?
I saw that one. I haven't been told, but he's crazy not to.
He's crazy not to. We were over there on Tuesday, and they had the beef barley, which is my personal favorite.
That's your number one, huh?
Whew, it's good. They make a great beef barley soup. Tyler, do you have a favorite Steelers soup?
Super Steelers soup.
No
Super
favorite?
Steelers eat. Oh, the soup is legendary.
Tyler, you're missing it.
You may not have been around when I went on my Super Steelers soup rant. They're gonna sell it all over and supply.
I mean, they do a lot of good soups,
right?
And Mike Pursuit. They also had the stuffed pepper soup.
He was a fan of that, right?
And Pursuit is a huge fan of that, so he had the stuffed pepper. And as I was eating the beef barley,
you were high on both your lists. I didn't soup it up this Tuesday.
The wedding soup was great. The clam chowder's great.
Oh, the chowders, the bisques, all that stuff.
Oh, the bisque is unbelievable. Mm-hmm. It's like being in a 5-star restaurant with their soups.
So my answer to the question is he must not have, or he would have signed by now.
That's true. Or maybe he's not a soup guy. I don't know.
Maybe. Super Steelers soup, the soup the Steelers eat.
There you go.
Benefiting Pittsburgh Soup Kitchen. Make it happen, Steelers.
Michael Odesso asks, when Rodgers is signed, who's going to be his short yardage / underneath guy love DK and Pickens, but it's not their strength, nor is Calvin Austin's. Seems like a lot of trust put on Roman Wilson. Is there a free agent to bring in, or maybe a wide receiver like Restrepo? Well, how much tight ends?
I say I'm screaming for Freiermuth.
And I think that's the kind of receiver that Wilson is.
Yeah. I also, especially once Rodgers signs and the draft goes, I might just call Keenan Allen.
Maybe.
What do you want on a one-year deal?
Yeah.
You're a lot different than the dudes we have. You're a veteran. Come play with Rodgers.
You guys are both Cal guys, even though you weren't there at the same time.
I don't think it'd be expensive. He doesn't have to play a ton of snaps. They're not in 3 receiver sets a lot, but dude runs routes.
Yeah. We'll get to one more here before we get to the break. What's your guys' draft coverage schedule look like for the actual draft? Well, we're at the Steelers facility. We're over at the UPMC Rooney Sports Complex. And largely, we are on the radio the entire time.
I am on the entire time.
Although I have some writing duties that I got to do and things of that nature, how these guys fit with the team that'll go up on Steelers.com. But we'll be on there. Mike Pursuto will be on there. Jerry Dulac will be on there.
Yeah.
I think Rob King's on the schedule for this year.
I don't know the schedule like the back of my hand, and I don't know the hours we start.
Yeah.
But if there's coverage, I will be on the air.
Wes Euler's there with us. Tom Opferman's coming down for some stuff.
No, we'll have it covered.
Max Starks is going to be in Green Bay.
Oh, is he? Okay.
Doing stuff for, I believe, ESPN radio.
I wonder if he'll remotely join us here and there.
Probably not, if he's going to be on the air the entire time.
Okay.
Like, I don't.
Oh, okay. He's not part of our coverage, but he's in. I got you.
I don't. We were talking about that at the when we were at the meetings a couple weeks ago, and I'm like, Max, I don't envy you having to go to Green Bay for the draft.
For this weekend, right.
Like, the population of Green Bay is going to swell by 3 times what it usually is.
People renting out their kids' beds.
And there are not enough hotel rooms.
Tents and pop-up trailers and stuff like that.
People are going to be staying all over the place.
Yeah. It's going to be nuts.
Yeah.
But no, we will have you guys covered like crazy.
Yeah.
And again,
tune into.
I usually don't miss a minute.
You can either listen through Steelers Nation Radio, you can listen on the app, you can also listen on the through iHeart on the 970 Fox Sports Pittsburgh as well. But we have wall-to-wall draft coverage, talk about every pick, make our picks as they're coming up, who we would take in those situations. So it's
break it all down.
Break it all down.
We even get.
We get players who as they come in. We get coaches that after they make the pick, they come and sit down with us.
Position coach will sit with us, or even coordinators or Coach Tomlin or whoever. We've had Mr. Rooney on during the draft. We've had Joey Porter the day after he got picks comes and joins us.
A lot of those players, a lot of the players come in and sit down with, where they'll call in immediately after making a pick, which did lead to some, like when they took Bud Dupree in the first round back in 2015. I think it was 2015. They all run together now, but maybe it was, I think it was. And I was talking about how I didn't like the pick because I didn't like his instincts at the time. I said, this is not a guy.
I didn't love it either. I remember that.
Who's going to help you right away. He's a developmental player in the first round.
And it took him a while.
We get the thing, he's on the phone right now. And I'm like, okay. How you doing, bud?
Welcome to Pittsburgh. Yeah. Whoops.
He's probably listening to me go on this diatribe how
it's not the great pick.
It turned out, not that it wasn't a good pick, but I said
it took time.
It was going to take time for him to develop into what they needed him to be.
He was a project.
That turned out to be the case.
It was, absolutely.
Which kind of like Shemar Stewart, to be honest.
Yeah, there's some similarities there too.
Yeah.
Stewart doesn't even make many plays in the run game.
Right.
It's not like just sack only. His run stuff's questionable too.
Yeah. But let's get to a break. We'll get back to more questions when we return. He is Matt Williamson. I am Dale Lolley. You're listening to The Drive here on the Steelers Audio Network. And we are back. I'm Dale Lolley here with the Matt Williamson, and we're rolling through some questions here on the X Twitter. And Dakota Smith asked, would you trade into the top 10 to draft Sanders? If so, what would that cost? And I would not do that.
No, I wouldn't think even consider it.
Largely, not just because I don't think he's a top 10 player. If you identify him as the quarterback, that's fine. But to move into the top 10 from where they're at now, from 21, and you don't have a second-round pick already,
right,
you're trading future picks, probably your future one.
I'd say probably a future one or a bevy of your 3 this year,
you're
2.
Clearing out those compensatory
and I don't
picks
know
that you have next year.
Right. I absolutely would not. Now, I am a huge believer if there's one you adore, it doesn't matter what the cost is.
Right.
No one cared what the Chiefs paid to get Mahomes, you know what I mean, or Buffalo traded up to get Allen. I just don't see that in this draft.
Yeah, I don't see that kind of talent there.
I mean, I'd have a hard enough time taking him at 21.
Joe Markusik asks, you guys are my favorite Steelers podcast. Well, thank you for that.
Nice.
What do you think of TJ Watt's Instagram post of him in a Steelers uniform holding up two fingers like he's saying peace? I think it's much to do about nothing, but what say you? Well, I covered that in today's Five for Friday. At the end of the season, he said he wants to retire. He wants to be part of the solution here with the Steelers. He wants to be here. Just 2 weeks ago at the owners' meetings, both Mike Tomlin and Omar Khan said, "Yeah, no question, we want TJ here."
Right.
So I do think it's much. Nobody knows. There were no words there with the Instagram post.
No, right.
It could have been any number of things that he just put an Instagram post about.
Right.
And people try to read into things.
You know better than me, but I think he's a man of few words.
He is.
Yeah, I mean, to say the least. And I heard some people speculating they have a second child on the way. I don't know. I mean, it could be anything.
Could be any number of things.
Right.
Yeah, you just don't know. And speculation about, well, he wants a new contract, and it sparked the whole thing. Is he worth $40 million? You're worth whatever somebody's willing to pay you.
Yeah. It's a going rate. The cap
That's the going rate.
Going up like crazy. Right.
And it's not your money that, would you pay TJ Watt $40 million? Well, that's a silly question, because how many people out there that you're asking that question to have $40 million?
Right. It really just comes down to what percentage of the cap do you think he's worth?
That's the big thing.
Right.
What percentage?
And my bet is his next contract will be a smaller percentage of the cap than this one.
Right.
I mean, because the cap's going up so
fast. The cap has gone up incredibly. It's Annie asked, if Rodgers decides not to sign or is still undecided, is there any impact on the Steelers drafting a quarterback this year? Also, if they give me an 8-carat diamond ring and a prenup giving me everything, please let the Steelers know that I am all in. She was listening yesterday.
Good stuff.
And we appreciate that. I think that they know what Aaron Rodgers is going to do, and I don't think it impacts necessarily what the Steelers do at quarterback this year in terms of the draft. They're going to probably draft one at some point.
Probably.
Because they're going to have a fourth quarterback in camp.
Mm-hmm.
I just think that they know what's going to go on with Rodgers here, and they have a pretty good idea.
That's my hunch as well. And I don't think that decision should change the way – I mean, your grade's still the grade on these players. Right.
You still view these guys the same way.
Right.
Yeah.
It shouldn't change at all whether
no.
Ben walks through those doors or Mahomes or you have nothing. I mean, it's still the grade's a grade, and are they worth it?
Yeah. Scotty P says, which of these two options do you like better? Jalen Milroe in the first round or Will Howard in the third round?
Both are rich to me.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, Milroe might be the answer. Howard, to me, is very Rudolph-esque, a little bit better athlete.
Howard in the third round. I have less of a problem with Howard in the third round.
I guess. I don't love either.
Because I think you're only giving, you're talking about the difference between, two mid-round draft picks as opposed to Jalen Milroe
just the cost.
In the first round at pick 21.
Right. I think both are too rich.
Yeah.
And Howard doesn't really blow my skirt up either, to be honest with you. I think he's a good player in the right system, a facilitator, really good from the neck up. But I think he's a Rudolph-like player.
He's a better athlete than
better
Mason,
player, but I bet that's his career path.
Yeah. Hessian says, with the Browns signing Flacco, and my guess is drafting Milroe either at 33 or moving up a little, will Kenny Pickett's head explode on the thought of actually having to compete again? Maybe.
I mean, the league's telling us what you think of Pickett. I mean, that they think he's a 2 or, I would imagine Flacco's the leader in the clubhouse to start over him at this point, right.
I mean, he started games for them in the past, and they were
Kenny, frankly, doesn't, like most quarterbacks, doesn't have any right to complain. He's competing for a job.
You're just trying to, at this point, hold on, Andrew Kwiatkowski asks, can you see TJ Watt's extension coming in or above $40 million a year? Seems to be the talk around the media, but don't know if that's just agent speak. What's speculation based on what Myles Garrett got and what Micah Parsons is going to get.
Parsons will get more than both, just based on age. I mean, he's worth more now.
But that's the going rate is the going rate.
Yeah. That's just the cost of doing business. It'll be in that neighborhood, I'm sure.
Yeah, I don't know if it's going to be above $40 million a year, but it'll be in that range.
I would be in that range. He's about the same age as Garrett. He's same level player.
They came out in the same draft.
They came in the same draft.
Yeah.
So maybe it's structured different, where the money kicks in and where the bonuses are and all that.
There are bonuses that push things different ways, and all kinds
Where's
of stuff.
the guaranteed money and all that? But it should be in that neighborhood. He's one of the best players in the league.
Steel Warrior 55 asks, question to both, what's your favorite Steelers memory or moment? Whew. I've been doing this a long time. What's my favorite moment of the last 33 years?
Mine is, I was very young. I was like 7 or 8 years old, and we were going to Disneyland. And for whatever reason, the Steelers were in the terminal on their way to San Francisco. And that was the year that they were the only defeat. The Niners, this is like early 80s. Niners were 15-1 or whatever. Sounds about right. I would have been 10 or 11, right in that neighborhood. And Jack Lambert was on crutches with his turf toe. And I went up to him and asked him for an autograph, and he said, "Say please," and I almost pooped myself, and then he signed it, and then he went on and won. So I'll go with that for my favorite memory.
I'm going to go with this one. So it's my first training camp in '93, and we're standing out in front of the old dorms, and at that point, all the media, everybody, we all stayed in that same dorm. So Mike Pursuta, who was at that time probably 26, 27 years old, he's a few years older than me.
Mm-hmm.
The Steelers had drafted 3 Michigan State guys that year, including Jim Miller.
Mm-hmm.
And Pursuta pulls up in his Toyota Celica. It was a
nice.
Yeah, it was a convertible Toyota Celica, but it was a Toyota Celica.
Yeah.
Pulls up in front of the dorms to unload his stuff. At that point, it was reporting day. He starts unloading his stuff, and as Pursuta will do, he's wearing all of his Michigan State gear.
Sure.
Which he does. And one of the photographers...
And this was a long time ago, by the way.
It's a long time ago, yeah.
It's an important note for the story.
Yeah. One of the photographers who was there shooting for somebody, I don't even know who, might have been the Latrobe Bulletin or something like that, who doesn't cover the team on a regular basis.
Sure.
Runs out and starts shooting pictures of Pursuta unloading his stuff out of his car because he thought he was Jim Miller.
Jim Miller, right, the next quarterback, right.
And we were all just chuckling about it, this Pursuta. I had known Mike from before I started covering the team. We had a mutual friend, and so we had beers a couple of times before that. But, yeah.
And I can't stress enough that this is a long time ago, folks, in order to make the believability of this story.
Back in the days when I was still mistaken for a player when I was walking around campus. People saw a young...
somewhat fit, right,
bigger kind of guy, and they said, and I know sometimes when they take the photos of me next to you and Max, for example, 2 weeks ago, people, well, Dale must be a little guy. No, I'm 6'1" and 195
Everyone's
pounds.
little compared to Max, right?
Yeah, everybody looks small compared to Max, but that's one of my favorite.
That's a good one. Yeah,
the first one that I can also remember interviewing Jerome Bettis in front of the same dorms. And he's up against the wall with looking out over the fields, and the Blue Angels came over.
That's cool.
And you couldn't hear them. You saw them before you heard them because they're moving at
because they're moving so fast.
And they were doing a show at the Latrobe or at the at the airport.
They do that every year. Yeah,
they're coming in formation, upside down, I believe, right at us.
Like this is incredible.
And you couldn't hear him, and all of a sudden Jerome's eyes went boom because they're coming right at us.
Wow, that's a pretty cool memory. Yeah.
And then you heard them as they went over. It's like whoa.
Yeah, there's some Sharkies memories I probably won't throw.
Probably
in there
a few of those too. Yeah. That I'm not going to mention on here. Carmstrong asks, let me start by saying I love the show and the insights you both offer. You're both very knowledgeable, and I don't miss a show. Well, we appreciate that. With that said, can you please stop interrupting Matt? I dare you to listen to your shows and count the number of times you interrupt him.
I think I interrupt you.
It's funny because a lot of people complain about both of us interrupting each other.
I've had a million co-hosts, and you're still my favorite, over my podcasting radio career, and I always think one of my biggest weaknesses is I interrupt my my co-host too often.
We both.
I think it's just being excited.
We do so many shows together, and it just, and we talk off the air and text each other. I have a lot of the same thoughts, and
spit them out whenever we're ready.
I always try to make this, and have done it since the show started, conversational.
Yeah,
like Matt and I are sitting at the bar talking. That's what we do with the show.
Yeah. So we've gotten a lot of feedback along those lines too. It's like you guys are just kind of hanging out at Sharkies.
That's what the show is supposed to be about.
Yeah.
That's why a lot of times I don't script anything out. We just go and talk like we're having a normal conversation. Hi guys, says Chris Maxwell. If you had to rank the Steelers OCs, starting from Todd Haley until present, how would you rank them? In my opinion, Haley is clearly number one, and it's not even close. Arthur Smith is next to last with him, barely ranking above Canada. Well, I disagree with that.
Canada would be last.
I mean, there's only been 4.
I would say Fichtner, Canada, Smith, Haley.
Yeah.
Okay. I would probably go Haley, Smith, Fichtner, Canada.
I think I would go the same way.
But we have 1 year to judge Smith, too. I mean, it's a tough
they
one.
averaged almost 5 points a game more than what they – I guess you could throw Eddie Faulkner into that as well. But they averaged almost 5 points more per game this past season than they had the previous season.
I'd be a heck of a lot better coordinator with Ben in his prime than
that helps a lot too.
With Duck Hodges too,
AB, and,
right?
Yeah, a young Juju and Le'Veon Bell.
And I'm not avoiding the subject just to like be PC, but judging any assistant coach is really hard from even where we sit.
Yeah,
I mean, so much happens behind the walls.
Matt DeSico, I should say, asks, excluding Rodgers, is there one current free agent out there that each of you guys could think would still be a good signing for the Steelers? I think you mentioned it with Keenan Allen.
Yeah, something I'd be interested in.
Would certainly be one that would be.
I've brought up J.K. Dobbins a few times. Chubb. I'm sure there's a corner or a tight end or somebody that's super cheap that's going to be hanging around that you might want to throw into camp, or maybe another offensive lineman. You know.
He also says, keep up the great work, and to the trolls, maybe you can challenge them to a spelling bee, spelling contest. But, I get to what you're saying there, Matt. Short Jr. says, favorite thing about working together and least favorite thing about working together.
I'm a fan of it.
Yeah, I mean, we enjoy it. I mean, Matt and I, even though we went to the same college, Matt and I did not know each other.
No,
before we started doing the show together, and I consider Matt one of my good friends now.
Yeah.
We work together every day, and maybe that's the thing that's the least favorite thing about doing this is that we do this every day.
There's a lot. There are some times of the year where
it gets a little difficult.
We see each other, and it's not like I'm unhappy to see you, but all right, let's go.
Sean Fagan says, all the quarterback talk has become tiresome. If Rodgers throws a curve and ends up retiring, how much does that change the Steelers' draft strategy after the first round? We kind of covered that. How different, asked Gasper Atkos, how different is this year's pre-draft quarterback chatter from 2022 when pundits were discussing Malik Willis and Desmond Ridder as first-round picks? Is it possible that only one quarterback will be drafted in the first round? It's possible.
It's possible, but I think this class is noticeably better than that one.
Yeah, and I think if you look back at
one's going one. That makes it different already.
If you look back at that draft as well in 2022, there were fewer teams at that point that had a real true need for a quarterback. So they were. I mean, if there had been 5 or 6 teams that needed quarterback that had to have a quarterback that year,
maybe
those guys would have gone higher.
And it's not because they flopped, but I'll take Milroe or Shuck over that version of Ridder or Willis or certainly Corral. And what I think was lost about that class is everyone's like, there's only one first-round quarterback, and it was all the way at 20. There was no second-round quarterbacks either.
Right.
0.
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to have a hard time convincing me that if Milroe's still around the second round, he doesn't go.
And most of those guys all started off as backups. All of them did, really. None of them started from day one because nobody really needed.
Right. They weren't high pedigree guys, and that's a bad class.
Yeah. Naz Costco asks, what is the most shocking pick you can remember from the Steelers in the last 15 years? Shocking?
Edmonds took me aback.
I had heard some buzz about him in the days leading, maybe even the hours leading up to the draft.
Everyone was so focused, including myself, on Van Der Esch and Roquan. I mean, that was the linebacker draft, and
they all went.
They all went.
They were all gone.
Who were other ones?
I think Ziggy Hood was kind of a surprise to me.
Yeah,
just because he didn't necessarily fit.
Does that still count?
That's
close.
That was 08. That's
it's in the ballpark.
In the time frame. Maybe 09. Yeah, 08 was Mendenhall, which was kind of a surprise as well.
Yeah. I mean, it's a stupid one, but like Owolakon, I didn't see them taking a second quarterback. But then I thought through it, and I mean, there's some of those. I'm sure you're talking about early picks.
Yeah, we got 2 questions left here. This is another one from Naz Costco. If Shuck falls to round 4 mainly because of age, do you sprint to turn the card in?
Yeah.
Unless you've already taken one. But at that point, you may have already taken Shuck.
I would sprint in round 3.
Yeah. And then finally, Joey Bag of Donuts asks, if they draft a wide receiver this year, would that mean they have no faith in Roman Wilson being a contributor anytime soon?
Depends where they take him. And I don't know if it's a direct reflection on Wilson, no matter what they do. I mean, even if they would end up with Betch or Illuminor or someone like that, that's a lot different style.
Yeah.
On day 2, that doesn't mean they think Wilson's a bust or can't play.
No.
I don't think they'll take a receiver that looks like him, though.
No, they're not going to take another one it's in the same mold as Austin and Wilson.
Right.
They're not taking a pure slot.
Right. Like, I don't think Knoll was that. I think he's more than that. He's bigger and thicker.
And Austin can play outside, too.
Right.
He's shown that. But I don't know if Wilson can play outside because I haven't seen it. He did in college.
There's nothing they could do in the draft that would make me think, oh, they think Roman Wilson stinks.
No.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Unless they drafted 3 of them or something crazy.
Well, that would be
nothing realistic.
That would signal that. But anyways, that's some good questions on there. Once again, we appreciate those. Keep trying to do that here as the year goes on, if I remember to send it out on Thursdays. But let's get to another break. He is the Matt Williamson. I'm Dale Lolley. That's going to do it for hour number 1 of the drive here on the Steelers Audio Network. Matt and I will be back with hour number 2 right after this. And welcome back. I'm Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson. This is the start of hour number 2 here on the drive, and it is a mock draft Friday.
Okay, yeah.
Let's get to it here. We talked about the potential trade downs in the partners, and we're using the Pro Football Focus mock drafter today, and, well, we have some trade down offers. First 20 picks are in. Some of the players still available: Malachi Starks, Luther Burden, Donovan Ezereku, Kenneth Grant, Kelvin Banks, Walter Nolan, James Pierce, Marion Hampton, Colston Loveland, Gray Zabel, Derek Harmon, Kevin Winston, Trey Amos. So there are some dudes.
I'd love to trade down with what's out there now.
Yeah.
I mean, there's 3 defensive tackles. We didn't even get into, like, Tyreek Williams if you had to. And,
yeah.
There's a lot of targets like a Loveland that you mentioned. I think teams would be interested in moving up.
Coming up to get him.
Yeah.
So the Texans are on the phone with pick 25. The Chiefs are on the phone with pick 31.
Let's just talk to them.
Let's talk to them.
That's the first time I thought about them when you brought them up.
So
they should take Loveland if they moved up. How fun would that be? Or the fantasy community would lose their mind.
So let's see if they'll give us 63, 31, and 63 for 21.
That's at least the offer. I bet we get more.
They're actually saying we can get more.
I would think you could.
To come up 10 spots.
That's a late second. That's not enough.
I will throw in our pick 229 because we don't want that anyways.
Yeah.
But if they give me 133 instead,
another 5th or something, or a 4th?
I'm trying to get another 4, and that says there's a 54% chance that will be accepted. So we would have 31, 63, 133.
I'm all over that.
For 21 and 229.
Yeah.
Boom. They accepted.
Okay.
Right,
that is a great trade.
That puts us in a great spot. And I could see Kansas City wanting to do that as well because they got that extra
I am curious who they came up for. I don't know if Pro Football Focus is thinking the same way we are, but Loveland would be a lot of fun.
Yeah, let's see. They came up to get Kenneth Grant.
I don't like that, but he'd be a good compliment to Jones.
I could see that as well.
Oh, I could too.
Then Walter Nolan went to the Chargers. Omarion Hampton went to Minnesota.
Weird. Okay.
Colston Loveland goes to Washington. And Nick Emuwari goes at 30 to the Bills, leaving us with Derek Harmon.
Great. That still worked out fine.
That is.
When you said Grant and Nolan went boom, boom, I was like, no. We rolled the dice and lost.
But that worked out well.
I would strongly consider him at 21. I do prefer Nolan, but I think I would take Harmon over Grant. But I change every day.
We are allowed to change our minds on stuff.
Yep.
All right, so we are now up at pick 63. Top players available: Kevin Winston, safety out of Penn State; Demetrius Knight, the linebacker out of South Carolina; Carson Schlesinger, the linebacker from UCLA; Dylan Sampson, the running back from Tennessee; Elijah Araujo, tight end from Miami; Jalen Royals, wide receiver from Utah State; Andrew Makuba, safety from Texas; Darian Porter, cornerback from Iowa State; Kyle Williams, the wide receiver from Washington State. They've bumped him way up the board.
Yeah, it sounds like people are finally catching on.
Yeah. Ariante Ursary, the tackle from Minnesota; Tate Ratledge, the guard from Georgia; Omar Norman Lott, the defensive lineman from Tennessee; Trey Harris, wide receiver Mississippi; R.J. Harvey, the running back from UCF.
I don't love what's there.
Not done yet.
Okay.
C.J. West, defensive lineman from Indiana; Alfred Collins, defensive lineman from Texas.
Collins would be hard to pass up.
I just want to take a look at the running backs available here.
Mm-hmm.
Sampson, Harvey, Martinez, Giddens, who's in for a visit today.
Okay. They got hit pretty hard.
Quarterback, Jalen Milroe, is still there.
I would go with Milroe over all the above. Two names that I was thinking before you brought up Collins or Milroe were Porter, the corner, and Ursery. I mean, that's a pretty darn good prospect at a premium position. I would vote Milroe and then the Texas tackle. Why can't I remember that? We just brought him up.
We've only talked about him, Alfred Collins, a whole bunch.
Too much Britt Floyd.
Shemar Turner's still there. Vernon Broughton is still there. Just want to take a look at the defensive tackles. Josh Farmer, Jordan Phillips.
Farmer's still there. That's interesting.
Deone Walker, Aeneas Peebles, Jamari Caldwell. So I think you can, in that situation, maybe take the quarterback.
I'd say Milroe, after seeing
the running backs got hit reasonably hard.
They did.
Yeah.
We might not get a guy that we're super thrilled with at running back, and Milroe might be the price for that. But it's a little early for me to take Sampson or
we're at the end of round 2 here. But
right. But I'll take a quarterback.
Okay. Milroe it is. Now we are up again at pick 83. And the defensive tackles still there now are Jordan Phillips, Deone Walker, Aeneas Peebles, Jamari Caldwell, J.J. Pegues.
Caldwell or Phillips would be my favorite. They're different, but they would be my top 2 there.
Looking at running back, you've got R.J. Harvey. They were untouched. Harvey, Martinez, Giddens, Devin Neal.
I like all 4 of those, but the top 2 would be my favorites.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we pick again at 123, so we got 40 picks in between here.
What do you feel more comfortable with, doubling down at the tackle or taking a running back? There were more running back names to choose from.
Yeah, if I'm looking for a guy who might be able to step in and start, or at least be in that starting rotation right
history
away.
History shows us, though, that nose tackles fall.
Yeah, true. Receiver, Jalen Royals is still there. Kyle Williams is still there. Jalen Noel is still there.
Those are all better value, I think, than the nose or running back.
Cornerback, you're looking at Dorian Strong from Virginia Tech, Jacob Parrish from K-State, Noah Williams from Cal.
I don't mind that group either.
No, I don't
Where
either.
are you leaning?
I mean, I think the biggest need is still defensive line. Need.
Yeah. I mean, even though we have one.
We got one, but he's still not a nose.
True.
Nose. I think you take Caldwell.
And Harmon's, they'd room together.
There you go.
They're good buddies.
You like that?
Oh, yeah, that sells me. Coming all the way from Oregon, but they're going to be friends, and they're going to get along great.
Besties forever.
Oh, forever, yeah. BFFs.
Jamari Caldwell it is.
That's a good pick. Now, one of those receivers, corners, or running backs that we mentioned probably is there.
Kyle Williams is still there.
Okay. I don't think he should be, but that's something
Looks like the running back position got hit pretty hard again. Jaden Blue, Trevor Etienne, Jarquez Hunter, Brashard Smith, Khalil Mullins, Kyle Mononagae, Marcus Yarns, Bashal Tootin is still there.
Tootin's my favorite of the group, but as a whole, that group seems.
We got pick at 123 and 133. Now we got the extra 133 because we dumped 229 here. So we got 123, 133, 156, 185.
What's the corner wide receiver situation or O-line situation?
Cornerback, you're looking at Noah Williams still there.
Cool.
He is a good player.
Yeah, he's solid, yeah.
I think some people are sleeping on him too. Wide receiver, as I mentioned, you got Kyle Williams, Isaac Tesla, Ty Felton. I like all three of those guys.
All those are fine, yeah.
Yeah. At offensive tackle, Brandon Crenshaw-Dixon, Logan Brown, Chase Lunt, Ajani Cornelius, Emory Jones.
I like a lot of those guys too.
Yeah, I just have some questions about Brown. I was doing some research on him, and he got kicked out of Wisconsin.
Right. He was a 4 or 5 star recruit too.
Yeah.
That's kind of taking a little
1 year as a starter and came at Kansas. There's some questions there. I don't know. What do you think here?
I'd rather not take the running back here if we have another pick in 10 picks.
I think Kyle Williams.
Is probably the best player
still be
out there. Yeah,
should not still be there.
Take him. Yeah.
That's just a bonus pick that.
Yeah, that's the trade down bonus pick.
I could have convinced myself of Noah Williams there as well, but let's see if he's still available. He is not. He got scooped up. So you're looking now at cornerback Robert Longerbeam from Rutgers, Zy Alexander from LSU, Elijah Huzzy from North Carolina, Quincy Riley from Louisville. I like Riley a lot.
Yeah, Riley would be a good pick. We don't have a back. I'd certainly like to have an offensive lineman by now, too.
I think the offensive lineman, was a little bit more there.
Yeah, there was a handful of decent names.
I think I want to take the running back now.
Who's the best ones to pick from?
It's Blue, ATN, Jarkos Hunter, Rashard Smith, McGonaguy, Bashal Tutin. Taj Brooks is still there, too.
I like Brooks a lot. He's not spectacular, but he's really solid all-around player. Tutin's the opposite, where he could bust or he could hit big.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I could go blue and be that small.
That's really small.
Yeah.
Tutin's at least a 210-pound running
back.
back.
He's a much bigger back. Yeah. Tutin would be my choice.
I think you take Tutin here.
Yeah, that's fine. Absolutely.
And you get some Velcro and you Velcro football to his arm and say, this is where it's going to be.
You got Warren and Gainwell until he proves he can be trustworthy.
Yeah.
You know?
No, I'm with you. All right. Now we're up at 156. And let's take a look at that offensive tackle group. Well, it's still Logan Braun, Emory Jones, John Williams, Jack Nelson, Holland Pierce.
We've drafted a lot of those guys often, but I wouldn't hesitate to do it again.
I'd take Jones here.
Yeah,
and say, you know what, he might be a guard, but I'm okay with that.
Starting guard.
He might be your starting guard next year.
Yeah. And I think he can get you out of the game as a tackle.
Yeah.
And you do have Anderson a tackle.
Right.
No, I like Jones there.
That's what the Anderson re-signing. People, that's going to take him to Super Bowl. You don't understand what they're trying to do here.
Yeah.
They're trying to fill the roster out so they don't have to do something.
You don't want to have to take, go shopping down the
go get a guy who can be a left tackle or a guy they can't, you don't have to do that.
It's just a bird in the hand situation.
Yeah. All right, we are now up with our final pick at 185. Top players available: R.J. Mickens, the safety from Clemson; Jordan Hancock, the safety from Ohio State; Ty Felton, the wide receiver from Maryland.
We took Williams, though.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
Ty Robinson, the defensive lineman from Nebraska. Again,
I don't think we can go for a third one, but he
should still be there.
He's a glitch, yeah.
Craig Woodson, the safety from Cal.
Okay. We have not taken a corner.
We have not. Kanata Mumfield, the wide receiver from Pitt. Jalen Lane, the wide receiver from Virginia Tech. Seeing a lot of the same positions here still available. Zaw Frazier is still there, though, at cornerback. I just want to take a look at who else is there at corner.
I forget his name off the top of my head, but the Minnesota corner is a really interesting player, too.
Yeah, Jalen Smith is still there from USC.
Yeah.
Ventrell Cypress from Florida State. Mac McWilliams from UCF. Tommy Hill, the cornerback from Nebraska. Shamari Simmons from Arizona State. Cam Miller, Jabari Muhammad. Frazier's different from the other guys.
We take him a lot. That's
but
the
he's
reason
just an outside cornerback.
Right.
To me, Jalen Smith is a guy that could play inside or out and would have more value at this point.
Probably true.
Or at least
is there a guard worth considering?
Different value, I should say.
Or is there any more linemen worth considering? Or doubling down at running back or anything something we don't always do?
The offensive lineman, nah.
I mean, late they're going to be picked.
Yeah, not really.
Is there a running back that's worth doubling down on?
Let's take a look here. Taj Brooks is still there. John Quavius Marks is there from USC. Mm-hmm. Ollie Gordon's still there. LaQuint Allen is still there.
He's a little different.
Jordan James is still there.
I like James. And I like the Texas Tech kid.
And take two running backs?
Just need one to hit.
Okay, Taj Brooks it is.
All right.
That's fine.
Yeah.
And we're cruising here through the last part of the draft. Again, it's nice when you pick that pickup that you traded away. Mm-hmm. It just changes the dynamics of the draft completely.
It just gives you a lot more options, too. Like, could we afforded to take the quarterback or the receiver when we did, to fill needs?
Yeah. Now, they didn't love our draft, bought him 27%, but getting Derek Harmon, Jalen Milroe in the second round, Jamari Caldwell in the third, Kyle Williams in the fourth, Bashal Tutin in the fourth as well. We had 2 fourth-round picks. Mm-hmm. Emory Jones in the fifth, the offensive tackle from LSU, And then Taj Brooks, the running back from Texas Tech, in the 6th round.
I like it. I mean, I think your D-line...
I would be extremely happy with that draft.
Yeah, me too. Your D-line got a real shot in the arm with 2 very different players. I think my thoughts on Milroe are pretty well known at this point, and at that price point...
That's perfect.
I mean, if it doesn't work out, who cares?
We were talking before, what did you trade that 3rd next year to get up into the 2nd round to go get him? Well, in this instance, we were able to get Derek Harmon.
Didn't sacrifice our first-round value.
Not only did we not sacrifice an additional pick, we actually gained a pick and still got the players that we wanted.
Mm-hmm. No, that worked out very well. I would probably take that draft right now. I'm not sure Williams would last that long, and that's kind of a bonus prize receiver, but he's...
I don't know that Milroe lasted 63, but there they were.
Yeah, right. I don't know that either one is crazy. I mean, if they would have lasted a round longer, it's like, I can't buy that. But still, that's pretty good haul.
Yeah. No, I like it a lot.
Yeah, me too.
So let's get to a break.
All right.
He is the Matt Williamson. I am Dale Lolley. You're listening to The Drive here on the Steelers Audio Network. And Matt and I will be back with more right after this. Welcome back. I am Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson. And Matt, as you mentioned, the Beast came out this week.
I urge everyone to check it out.
And I've been reading through a lot of different stuff on here. And I was reading the Travis Hunter write-up here. And one of the things that kind of stood out from me, and we know Travis Hunter's a great player.
Mm-hmm.
People are talking about him playing both ways in the NFL. He's talking about him playing both ways in the NFL. Last season at Colorado, he played 1,552 snaps, 753 on offense, 776 on defense, 23 on special teams. The average NFL team, because they're playing 17 games.
There's more games,
plays about, if you play every snap on defense, just on defense, you're going to play over 1,000 snaps.
Yeah, which same is true with offense.
Same with offense, yeah. You're going to play over 1,000 snaps both ways, which leads me to, 1,500 snaps offensively and defensively isn't the same as playing 2,000 snaps.
I bet 1,500 hasn't been done at the NFL level for ever, 20 years.
A long time,
let alone 2,000.
Yeah.
So I also don't think it's apples to oranges in terms of a couple things. I think one snap in the NFL is harder than one snap at Colorado.
Yeah.
Clearly. I also think there's a little more time between snaps at the NFL level. There's more huddling.
Right.
There's
commercial breaks.
Commercial breaks are longer. All those things. I don't know what the halftime situation is. So I don't know that anyone thinks he can play every snap of every game.
Yeah.
I mean, so how do you handle that? If you're the Browns or the Patriots, I would start him as an offensive player first, just because of team need. But that's easy for me to say because I think it's more important to be in the defensive meeting room than it is the offensive meeting room. I mean, the quarterback could just say, run out, run a go, or, we'll work after practice or whatever. I don't know how feasible it is, but if a genie came out of the bottle and said, Hunter's a Steeler, what do you want to do with him? I would say I want to use him on both sides of the ball at the highest leverage situations. Second and short, he's not out there. Maybe not even 1st and 10, depending what the score is, what the situation is. All throwing downs, I want him out there. But again, I think he's very, very strong mentally, but he still has to be in the meeting rooms. You know what I mean? It can't just be like, don't do anything. So I'm really curious how it works out.
Yeah, I'm interested as well. And it brought up the injury issue in the past. Like, okay, if he's playing a lot of snaps for you on both sides of the ball, and then he misses games or gets hurt in game,
you lose 2 starters.
Now you're down 2 starters.
Right.
Dane Brugler, who does the Beast, has this under one of his weaknesses.
Oh, okay.
Played half of his usual number of snaps versus K-State and Arizona in 2024 because of a shoulder injury. Missed 3 games as a sophomore because of a lacerated liver. Everybody knew that happened, resulting from a late hit against Colorado State. Had a right ankle injury that led him forced him out of 5 games as a high school senior in 2021. Required off-season surgery. Aggravated that injury in the second game of his freshman year at Jackson State and missed 5 games there too.
So he's not super clean medically in terms of his history. Yeah, I didn't know it was that much.
And I didn't either.
Yeah,
and that's why you like to read these kind of things because you can't.
I didn't know he had a high school degree,
I mean, Dane does this year round.
Sure.
And this is how he acquires this.
And frankly, I know he's not going to be a Steeler, so I'm not doing a whole lot of background check on him either. Right.
But it brings up the point. Like again, he missed parts of games against K-State and Arizona last year, and you're losing your best wide receiver. In the case of Colorado, and your best cornerback with the same guy.
Yeah.
Whereas if you didn't put him out there in all those situations, would that be the same? Would the same thing happen?
Probably not. But, obviously, it lessens the chances. Obviously, it's a lot of eggs in one basket. They're just good eggs. They're great eggs.
Yeah, he's a great player.
I don't think he plays 1,500 snaps next year.
I don't think he does either.
I bet he plays over 1,000. I mean, assuming he stays healthy.
Maybe in year 3, he's now a full-time player at both positions. But I just don't see it happening as a rookie. There's so much.
Full-time's a big word, yeah.
So much being thrown at these guys in their rookie season. Like,
I mean, it's hard to play 17 games, period.
Yeah.
He's never done that. I mean, they didn't have like a long playoff run or anything either. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I've thrown out the name of Tawny. I mean, like, just because no one's ever done it before doesn't mean it can't happen.
The most games he's played in his career is 13. That's last year.
Typical college.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's more than it used to be a couple years ago.
He played 8 games as a freshman at Jackson State.
Mm-hmm.
He played 9 games his second year at Colorado. He missed the games because of the lacerated liver, and 13 games last year.
I understand the concerns. I understand all that. I wouldn't hesitate at all to take him, though.
No, I hear you.
For those reasons. I'm not saying you are either.
Yeah, I'm just saying I would be very cautious.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy has in 30 career games at the collegiate level as a defensive back, 37 pass defenses and 9 interceptions.
Yeah. His ball skills
The ball skills are off the charts.
Plus, he thinks like a receiver.
Yeah.
I mean, he knows exactly what they're trying to hit. Above the neck, he's phenomenal. I mean, below the neck, he's better. But, I mean, above the neck, he's phenomenal. He's a great football IQ. I found something interesting. Like, if you go to ESPN.com and the NFL page, they have, like, their Jordan Reed and all those dudes. They just ask him a handful of questions. Yeah. What are your answers? And one of the questions was, what are you hearing about Sanders? And two of the analysts answered it with, teams don't seem to favor offense versus defense that they've talked to.
Sanders.
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah. Hunter. The teams at the top don't really have a strong preference, offense versus defense. They're just going to figure it out when they get them. Cool, but I'd have more of a plan than that.
I want more of a plan.
If I'm going to take an overall pick or a third overall pick, I'm not just going to be like, we'll see how it goes when it gets here. I mean, I'm not going to have a pretty good plan.
I'm not going to have him work exclusively with the defensive backs for all of minicamp or all through all of OTAs and then say, well, we'll try it wide receiver.
And we'll just see how it goes.
Yeah, and wide receiver, you're going to work at that because that's the other thing. It's not just about playing the games. You got to practice.
The preps are really important.
You're going to spend, and it's not like a college practice. You're going to be on the field for 2 hours every day. To your point, you got to go to meetings.
Right. You need to know the audibles, and you need to
players spend an entire day at the team facility.
Oh, yeah, it's a full-time job.
Yeah, it's a full-time job, and there's a reason that they spend that whole day just working on one position, let alone two.
So we always talk about receivers have a tough time getting on a moving train, or Roman Wilson couldn't break back in because how much time do I have to – and now he might Peyton Manning and Marvin Harrison after practice, and they might, work like crazy. Maybe. I'm sure there'll be some of that, but still it's hard. And – I get the impression in Colorado he was a D-back first, and then because the receiver stuff was a lot of screens, and he's a really hard player on either side of the ball to find negatives on, but he's not a real developed route runner, because he hasn't run a lot. They keep his route tree pretty simple.
Right, yeah.
Now, if you're going against Darrelle Revis or Woodson, with a underdeveloped route tree and you only run 4 or 5 routes, you're at a disadvantage.
They're going to figure it
out.
Yeah,
exactly.
They're going to watch tape on you all week long. Well, he doesn't do any of that stuff. It's okay.
Yeah. Again, I would not hesitate to make the risk, but it's just such a unique situation.
It really is. And
somebody, pretty cool, really.
When we talked about him, I think last week, somebody brought up in the messages board about, well, Troy Brown did it. Troy Brown was not.
Kind of. He did it by emergency.
It was an emergency situation. He was not a full-time wide receiver and defensive back
He also wasn't great at either.
Over a course of a season.
No. I mean, when this started coming up, I even went and looked. I'm like, wonder how many catches Dion had in his whole career. It's 36.
Yeah, it wasn't that many. Not as many as you think.
Not close to as many as you think. And they all came in like 1 year. He caught like 20 passes 1 year. Other than that, the most he ever had was like 5 in a season. It was all over like a 6-year stretch. Like, you're not drafting Hunter to catch 5 passes a year.
No.
You know what I mean? And, you know, Dion's a little different. He was a true corner, and he played every snap at corner, and he was one of the best ever. But I thought that right away. Like, people were talking about Champ Bailey. I mean, did Bailey ever catch a pass in the NFL? I don't remember him running routes.
I mean, Rob Woodson did it for like a game.
Like here and there. Right, right.
You sent him out there for a couple of snaps. And, you know, just what's the defense going to do when we put Woodson out there? You know, that kind of stuff. But it's hard, and you know, again, I'm not knocking the kid at all. I think he's a great player, but I think you do have to have a plan. And I didn't understand necessarily his injury history. Like, I don't know if I want him playing 2,000 snaps. I know.
And when I first got exposed to Hunter as a prospect, very, very early in the draft process, because I didn't know anything. I mean, it was step 1 in my draft process. I said many times on the air, is he the best receiver in this class? And no, but we didn't have the answer at the point. Is he the number 1 corner in this class? And back then I didn't know. Now I know he is. I think he's number 1 in both pretty clearly. So if I only get one of the 2 positions, if that's my floor, I'm still taking him at 2.
Yeah.
You know, if I'm receiver only for the Browns, he would be my pick. If he said, if we both agree, you're never playing corner again, all right, I'll still take you at 2. In this case. Yeah. But I wouldn't if Jamar Chase was in the draft.
It's different.
Yeah, right.
Different argument. Anyways, let's get to a break. He is the Matt Williamson. I'm Dale Lolley. You're listening to The Drive here on the Steelers Audio Network. And, of course, you can hear The Drive every Monday through Friday right here on these very airwaves. You can also download the Steelers mobile app and get it directly on your phone. Or you can watch along on YouTube. Give us a thumbs up on there and leave your comments or questions or whatever you have. We're going to get to a break. We'll be back with more right after this. And we are back. I am Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson. And Matt, this one caught my eye today because Tennessee quarterback Nico Iamaleava skipped the team's practice on Friday with their orange and white spring game on tomorrow, Saturday.
Okay, this weekend.
If you're listening this weekend, because he is apparently in a contract dispute with the university. Now, when he signed with
the
Volunteers, volunteered to join the Volunteers.
Mm-hmm. This is not a volunteer position, by the way.
No, it is not. They gave him an $8 million contract in NIL money. I assume paid out over 4 years.
I would say that's over the course of
$2 million a year as a college freshman just to sign 18-year-old kid. Apparently, he now wants to renegotiate that deal.
That's taking another level, man.
This is, when we
was he great this year? Was he even the starter?
He's a good prospect.
Yeah, okay.
But when we talk about how the college football game has changed and why these guys might stay in school he's probably looking at what Carson Beck got from Miami and going, well, he got $4 million, and I'm as good as him or better than him. And I'm signed up for $2 million. I want to renegotiate.
I'm very ignorant as to what the top guys are making per year NIL. I mean, I assume $2 million was near the top of the list though to begin with, right?
Well, it was he was the number 2 prospect nationally when he signed with Tennessee.
So he's making as much as anybody.
And he got an $8 million NIL deal when they were recruiting him in 2023 when they brought him in.
The whole fact that he's renegotiating or holding out to me is insanity. And really taking it to a new level.
Yeah.
Like, do these kids have agents?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, there are NIL agents out there that get a
someone's advising them.
I was reading something about that the other night where they put it out on the X Twitter that there was a NIL agent who is getting 15%.
Wow.
Of
a
whatever.
Lot more than NFL agents.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, and it's turned college football into a cesspool.
Yeah. I mean,
like these guys are supposed to be students, but now they're paid students. Mm-hmm. And I'm not against the players being paid, but there's no.
I always thought they were shortchanged.
There are no guardrails right now.
There's no guardrails, and all the transferring is annoying enough. But if we're gonna get holdouts now too, I mean, why not just have a minor league?
It's essentially what college football has turned into.
Right.
And, if you get the money, then you're going to have a good team. And if you don't, too bad. And if you're a player, I mean, if you tell me as an 18-year-old, I'm going to get $8 million over the next 4 years.
Right.
I don't care when I turn pro.
No, not at all.
I'm already a pro.
Right. You're already a pro. I mean, again, you're going to have a nice car. You're going to have a great apartment. You're going to have a lot of money in the bank, et cetera. So I don't know nearly as much about college hoops, but I found it pretty interesting that the Final Four was all the 1 seeds. Is that because they're the wealthiest schools now too in hoops?
Yeah, I mean, if you looked at it,
is this going to be a regular
somebody
thing?
Put out the chart before I think it was before the Sweet 16 of all the starters from all the Sweet 16 teams and where they began their career at.
Okay.
And if you looked at that chart, other than Duke and Michigan State, you would not have known what team was which team was which, based on just looking at where, because they had the logos there for each one of those guys. I think Michigan State had 3 or 4 of their guys.
Homegrown, originally recruited.
Duke was the same way, and everybody else was just all over the place.
Wow.
And a lot of them didn't even have a guy who had started their career at the school that they were at. Like all 5 starters were somebody that had been brought in.
So my point is we're just going to see a lot fewer upsets, a lot more Cinderella stories, a lot more favorites just playing each other year after year.
The mid-majors are
it's like Red Sox, Yankees. I mean,
you may get lucky, but the luck is going to involve, having a good player who emerges late in his career. It's not going to be, if he's, look at Robert Morris. Robert Morris almost beats Alabama in the first round of the tournament. Yeah. They were leading Alabama with like less than 10 minutes left to play. Lose the game, the whole starting 5 basically is gone.
That was their one shot.
They could have had them all back this year because they all still had eligibility, but
don't have enough
out
money.
The door.
Right. I mean, those schools are going to scoop them up every time.
Those guys get paid.
Right? Yeah. And I don't blame any kid for doing it.
Nor do I, but I
you just had to hit the perfect. That's as good as it can get for Robert Morris, right? I mean, the 5.
The same reason, St. Francis, which also they were in a play-in game this year in Loretto. They said, you know what? We can't compete at this level anymore. We're going to drop to D3. We're done.
Just don't have the money. I mean, it just can't.
Yeah.
It's just not fun anymore. Yeah. It almost feels like baseball, too, where Yankees, Red Sox, Dodgers.
That's what it's going to turn into.
They're going to be awesome every year, and maybe once in a while other team puts it all together and it all happens.
Why do you think guys like Nick Saban and some of these other high-profile coaches retired?
Yeah, like I'm done.
They don't want to deal with this.
Yeah. I got money. I got my legacy. I don't want to deal with this. I don't like it.
I don't like it either.
Yeah, really. I'm not sure who does.
I mean, again, I think there just need to be more guardrails. The NCAA basketball transfer portal opened while the tournament was still being played. You had guys announcing they were entering the portal whose teams were still playing in the tournament.
These aren't even eliminated teams or
what are we doing?
Pitt that didn't make it. Or
Imagine
whatever.
that happening in the NFL.
Yeah.
Playoffs start and free agency opens up.
Yeah. Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah. Watt's contract's up, and they're playing in Kansas City in the AFC Championship game, and he's negotiating a deal with the Eagles.
It's insane.
Yeah, I mean, that's like
it's insane.
It's so wrong. Yeah.
It's insane. And this story just, I mean, you got to.
It's just taking it in one more level.
Yeah.
And then next year we'll have 2 more levels, where you're hearing.
That's why when we talk about, you don't know who's going to be in the draft each year until they're completely out of eligibility.
Mm-hmm.
Then I know they're going to be in the draft. Maybe they've got enough money. They don't love the game. They just say, I'm done.
Yeah, they could do that too. Like a Ewers or someone like that. That's not going to be a super high pick.
I'm just going to go. I've got $8 million in the bank over the course of my college career. I'm good.
Maybe I'll be a high school coach or do nothing or sit on a beach or do whatever I want. Yeah. I do think particularly quarterbacks are starting to come to the league more mature.
Yeah.
That part's good. I mean, that goes back to Parcells, though, when guys couldn't leave early, really. Let's give me every start I can. That part's good, sometimes in multiple systems. And I also think there's something to be said for leaving Auburn, going to Oregon. I'm just pulling Bo Nix's name out, and adjusting quickly to a new environment.
Yeah. Word this year.
And that means he adjusted to the Broncos quickly.
Right.
Can you adjust to a new environment quickly? Okay, you showed me you could.
Yeah.
Makes me think your rookie year might be better. I mean, just through an NFL lens, I could see some benefits.
There's some benefits. There are some drawbacks. You talk about some of the overage guys.
Yeah.
You're not going to get as many. You're not going to get 3 contract guys. Maybe you get 2.
Mm-hmm.
So
the part I hate is just the Pitts of the world. Do they have a chance? You know what I
mean?
I mean,
that's secondary. I just look at this through the lens of what this means for the overall picture, and the overall picture isn't pretty.
No, I agree. I don't like any of it, especially if I was a college fan.
Yeah. And you can't tell me that teams aren't contacting guys while they're still playing
all the time
before they go into the transfer portal.
Right. I mean, you could ask a college coach, it's an easy way to get in touch with them.
Yeah.
I don't know, like our buddy Wes Euler that lives and dies WVU. Does he look at it like we'll never compete with the big dogs? I mean, we'll be okay. We'll win some games, but we have no chance.
No chance.
Even if we line up everything perfect, we're not going to win.
Yeah. West Virginia's best football team, Pat White's not staying at West Virginia his entire career.
Right. They would all have to have
Slayton's
a great
not
year
staying
together.
There,
No, of course not.
Somebody else is coming in to scoop him up. Anyways, that's our little rant about
that.
That's the
world we live in.
It is. But that's going to do it for today's show. We'll be back on Monday. For my partner, Matt Williamson, for Justin Miller here on site running the Justin Miller hotline and the soundboard, and for Tyler Vittmeyer making sure our video gets out there on the YouTube. Give us a thumbs up on there. I am Dale Lolley. We thank you for listening to this edition of The Drive on the Steelers Audio Network.
Steelers football happens here. The Pittsburgh Steelers Audio Network.